My name is Kai, and I am a survivor of incest and childhood sexual abuse. So my earliest memory of when my abuse started, I was like 3, and my father started me in his bedroom at my aunt's house. At the time, I was pretty used to it, I already felt, because I knew what to do. So he did that off and on, and anytime he had an opportunity, and sometimes he'd hurt my brother. That continued until I was probably about 7 or 8. He was medicated a lot, so when he was doing that, I was never sure when he was going to be awake or not, and if he was usually doing something, like using me to hold my legs closed tight and then put his private parts in between my legs and would do that. Oral, he would force oral, and like in bubble baths and stuff, and he taught me how to use toys and watch porn. He passed away when I was 9, so that didn't necessarily go for very long for him. My main abuse, aside from that, was I had an uncle, and he started grooming me around 5 or 6 with oral and molestation, and then he started burning me with cigarettes and beating me when I didn't want to do what he wanted me to do. When I was 7, I got my big girl bed. Like, I got a full twin-size bed, with all the cute blankets and stuff. And I was making it, and he came in, and he threw me onto the bed and was yelling at me, and then put cigarettes out on the bed that I just had, and on myself. And then he tried to rape me, but I fought him. He took a clothes iron and held it in the pelvic area, in the fupa area, and burned me. After he did that, because I screamed so loud that he stopped doing what he was doing, he just made me go to bed. I was 7 years old when that happened. The next night, with that burn healing, he picked me up after I was asleep and took me outside. I remember it was storming, and this is in Texas, so it was like one of those really bad, loud thunderstorms. He had taken the mattress from my toddler bed and fastened it to one of the tables in the shed, and he tied me to that and taped my hands together like this and put tape over my mouth, and that was the first time he raped me. To this day, I have the hardest time sleeping during storms or even dealing during storms because it causes flashbacks and panic attacks and everything like that with it. Once he did that, and this hurt, like, because the burn was there too, like over the private parts kind of, and he sodomized me and then he raped me, and it just went on for what felt like hours. Like, the sun was coming up when I got to go out, and he put me in a bathtub and he like scrubbed me on the burn and everything, which made it bleed. And then he put me in bed and told me I better not say anything, which at the time I already knew not to say anything. I wasn't allowed to cry, I wasn't allowed to say no, and I wasn't allowed to say anything to anybody. And then that, and like, I'd get off of school and I would know, because sometimes he lived with us and other times he just stayed around to babysit because my dad was technically sick and always asleep. So he was a willing, helpful family member, So this continued to where I'd come home from school and I'd be expected to be ready to perform oral. And then if he wanted more, I had to like get ready to do that. Had to do things like pretend like I liked it and say things. Like, he coached me into saying things like what the porn videos would say and stuff. And he would just continue to do it. And it was consistent until I was 8 years old. I told my family. Actually, I told the school first because I punched a little boy for putting his hands between my legs. And I told the school what was happening. And he didn't say much to me there, but the school called home. They did a home check and stuff, but he wasn't technically living there, so I don't know. Nothing was done. I wasn't removed. My grandmother called his mother and put her on the phone with me, and she called me lying and said I just wanted attention and I was just sleeping around with little boys and didn't want to get in trouble. I was 8, so that was not a thing. And like, he would throw me into shelves and stuff like that. He would throw me against walls and choke me out. There's a couple times I remember being beaten so bad I could barely like keep my eyes open, but I couldn't let myself pass out because I had to at least be a little bit aware of what was going on. During all this, my mother had abandoned us already, so my dad was the only parent I had, and my grandmother was a full-time working nurse. So we raised ourselves, sort of, and my brother is autistic. But I couldn't let myself black out during these things because I was always afraid he'd hurt my brother too. After I told, it stopped for a little bit, like just a couple of months, and then my father passed away when I was 9. After that, I got rehomed for a little bit, and then I got into my aunt's custody, and then he just found ways to like around it up until I was about 12. He would still come over and babysit or invite us out with the cousins, and then just somehow find a way to get me alone. And if I tried to evade it in any way, like school functions or anything like that, was against him. So if I signed up for anything or had to do anything like that, it was punishment. Like, I got beaten. She wasn't really aware because after I was called a liar and stuff, the family said I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And I had to deal with him coming over to the house and stuff, even if I was uncomfortable. To this day, actually, if there's a family function, nobody tries to make it where I don't have to see him. He never got in trouble. He's still walking around. He kept this up, and of course, at that age, that's when I started, smoking and going out and trying to numb everything that was going on. Like, I lost my father. My father hurt me, but I couldn't tell anybody because they idolized him. They idolized my father as like this god of a man, and they have no idea what he was really like. So I haven't told my family yet that my father did anything to me. I lost him. I got moved around. For a little bit, I was separated from my brother. But yeah, I was forced to do family function, and since I was one of the kids, I had to go with wherever the kids went. I just hit it because he kind of stopped when I was 12 and then sporadically started just assaulting me all the way up until I was 19. He made me abuse my cousins when I was younger. He made me do to them what he was doing to me. Like, I got kicked out at 16 and had to go live with another aunt that happened to be his mother, and he lived in the house, so he took advantage of that. I used to run away to abandoned buildings in town and sleep in those just so I wouldn't be around him. Also, around 12 and 13 is when my sister's ex-husband came into the picture, and he got mad and he threw my little brother across the room into the couch, and I went after him, and then he beat me and then forced me to do oral. And then after that, he would coerce me into sex in order not to be mean to the other kids. So that was happening simultaneously with the other assaults, and to me it was just normal. At 19, I got pregnant by the uncle, and I had to have an abortion because at 15, I got pregnant by a boy on from the outside. I say boy, but he was much older. It was a grown man. He was 24 and I was 15, 16. I got pregnant and I was trying to carry and have the baby, and I had a stillbirth at 5 months. So I didn't want to try to carry another baby, let alone my uncle's, so I got an abortion, I tried to kill myself after that, actually. It caused a lot of problems. And then, since then, I've been in relationships that have been very abusive. My first girlfriend used me for my that I was actually medically supposed to have. And then I got into a couple relationships with guys, and they just, beat me and stuff, talk bad, verbal abuse. And then I got with one, and she managed to get me to move all the way to Colorado, away from all my family and friends. And we were together a year before this, and she never put her hands on me until after she got me to Colorado. And then she started sleeping with guys randomly, and if I was home, there was one instance where she let one of the guys rape me and watched. And then later, she attacked me again, and that's when I kind of blacked out and attacked her back. After that, I got into one relationship that was seemingly healthy all the way up for 4 years, and then it kind of spiraled, and she put her hands on me. Like, she grabbed me by the face like this, which I told her is one of my biggest triggers. Don't ever do that. So I decided to leave at that point. And then I got with somebody who fed me. That lasted for 6 months, and now I am here in Missouri. Clean and sober for 2 years, and doing pretty well. Most of my family is still in Texas. Some of them are up here in Missouri. And the ones in Missouri didn't even know about the abuse, anything. They seem to be a little more believing. But the only reason I go back to Texas or any of these family events is to be around my brother, because he's in full-time care of my aunt. And seeing my uncle at these events, because he always looks at me and he always tries to find ways. He still tries to find ways to get me alone. So he gives me this look and stuff, usually when he's around me, or he'll say, I hate the phrase good girl. But he'll just look at me and he'll say good girl, or he'll call me by the nickname he used to call me by, which is just core, but still, nobody calls me that anymore but him. There was a funeral a couple months ago that I had to go to, and he was there. I actually had such a bad panic attack that I was puking and blacking out. And I had a friend come with me for safety. But yeah, I was puking and blacking out and crying, and I could not control myself. And I have issues with self-harm and stuff because of this, because I hate myself when I can't be strong enough to face him even still. And it's really hard seeing him, knowing that he didn't even get a slap on the wrist or anything. My family doesn't really do anything to keep him from being around me. He still makes snide remarks, calling me a liar, saying I was doing it for attention, and that's why I told on my sister's husband too. So my sister's husband came into the picture just kind of randomly. We weren't even expecting her to get married, let alone anything else. But he came around, so he started babysitting us because his 2 kids were also in the house with us. And I found out later that he was beating and raping my sister as well. And the dynamic was really toxic and just bad because there was always screaming and fighting and yelling. I've watched him knock her out, and I watched him assault her, and I, kind of picked up the little girl, their daughter, and walked her down the street to my mom's house, or my aunt, sorry. I call her mom now. And I just picked up the kids and just took them down to my house, and I was like, hey, they're fighting really bad. And my aunt's husband, who I now call my dad, went down there with his gun, threatening to shoot him. Actually, he doesn't get shot, but he does go to jail, and then she did leave him. I did tell her that he had done the same stuff to me, and I didn't know what to do. She left him. He didn't go to jail for the assault of me because I just never pushed it. He went to jail for domestic violence, so it's just, slap on the wrist. But now he's back out on the streets, and he's kind of messed up on drugs and stuff, so he doesn't really go around my niece or anything like that. He was a very short-lived. It was just when I was older, so it's in my memories pretty well. A lot of my cousins in Texas got to watch the family literally just disregard me and black sheep me and just treat me badly after I'd said something, so I feel like that would have put fear in them not to say anything themselves, plus whatever he may have done to them. He has 2 little girls of his own and 2 little boys. Well, I say little, but they're not little now, they're all grown. The family views her leaving him as for herself. My family is also slightly racist, and her husband was black. So me having said what I said to her, that's kind of between me and her. She saw how the family treated. She's 14 years older as well. She's the same age as that uncle. But no, my sister was the only one who really kind of did have my back during the abuse as far as her husband goes. She didn't have much because she was too young when the stuff happened with the uncle when it started happening. And I was still in my father's custody, so nobody else that may have done anything at the time could have. And then by the time it was said and done, there was just, got to keep the peace in the family, so we can't do all this. A balancing act you had to keep up. And there's a lot of verbal abuse and stuff like that from the family. This last 2 years is the only 2 years in which I haven't been abused by somebody. And it's weird and it's scary. And I don't know what I'm doing. I've been hindered so much by all the other stuff that I'm just now figuring out how to adult and even take care of myself at 30 years old. The damages from that kind of stuff really does last, and it takes a lot to cope with. Honestly, at some point, I just kind of allowed it because I was messed up on drugs for a good part of it. It was pills. I was numbing my brain, so anybody who showed me any attention outside of my family, I kind of allowed to do whatever they wanted as long as I got the attention. Breaking that first, the engagement that I had, the 4-year one that I left, it was really good and healthy, as far as financially and, communication and stuff like that for a good 3 of the 4 years. It was the last year that her mental health spiraled and that it got to an abusive point. And it was kind of sad because, like I said, she was actually my fiance. And I had to walk away and say, no more, I'm not allowing this, the one time she put her hand on me. And that was kind of my, moment where I was like, I can tell them not to hurt me. I can tell them, this isn't okay and I'm not going to be around for it. And I can leave. I used to never feel like I could leave. My family, I'd probably be no contact with if it wasn't for my brother, because even if I don't do family functions, sometimes they won't let me have contact with him because I'm being selfish, is their words. I just got out of a relationship and she only broke it off because she felt like we were plateauing as far as actually taking care of our mental health and stuff, and she wanted me to continue to do better. I had lost focus for a moment, and so this is just restarting over. But there was no abuse in the past year from her. Nothing like that. The communication was great. That, I am breaking the cycle right now, and I chose not to have kids either because I don't want to continue the cycle with them or even risk them ever being hurt like that. Because even if I could, unfortunately some of the scarring and damage from the assaults won't allow my uterus to expand properly, and it continues to suffocate the baby after a certain point. And if it doesn't, it will kill me. So those are my ways of keeping the cycle from continuing, I'm not going to reproduce. There's plenty of kids in my family, trust me. I got over 100 cousins. I'm not quite there yet on 100%, but I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to do better. And finally getting to talk about it, just even in therapy and getting to do this, it's one of those, it's a relief because getting all the stuff out about my father in itself was just, I haven't really gotten to do that. Because in ways I do miss him. I did lose my dad. And I kind of feel messed up about that because how could I miss somebody who did such things? And that's a really confusing thing I have to work on. I'm still working on the self-harm and stuff like that as well. My brother thinks that I've abandoned him. So on the few times we do get to talk to each other, he's like, why did you leave me? And I told him because I had to get clean. I had to do better for me or I was going to die. With him being autistic, you have to be blunt. Like, I was doing something bad that was going to kill me. Simple as that. That ex happened to, she fed me, then got me hooked on it, then would let me smoke it. And then when she was high, she had beaten me with my bat. Broke 2 ribs, and these teeth across are all fake. Like, I got away, and now I'm clean, and I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, I finally have something I can be proud of. I did it myself. Like, I stopped cold turkey. Nobody paid for me to go to a rehab or anything like that. I just left the state, moved in with one of my aunt and uncles, and they just let me get a job and, kind of stay out of their basement and got on my feet. But, like, they didn't, everything I did with them, I had to pay for myself, which is fine. It's just, like, I did it myself. I got to do it myself. Very recently, like, last week, I actually had somebody who I thought was a friend who knows my past as far as addiction mentioned to me where she could get a certain drug. And it was just a couple days before my girlfriend broke up with me, so I have been struggling with thinking about wanting it, but I know better. Like, I'm actually able to fight it. Like, it's there, I'm aware it's there, but I'm also aware I can go without. Addiction itself was just a very hard road. Like I said, I started trying to numb it with pills like muscle relaxers or things like that. If I took them before they came over or something, then, things didn't hurt as much because my muscles were all like spaghetti. So I could just even sleep because the nightmares are so bad. Even still, I'm on medication for nightmares. They're so bad because I relive some of those scenes in my head, like being tied to that bed and trying to move my feet and the blood was just slipping on all the blood from me. I relive that every time it storms. And of course, there's not really very many places in the US you can live where it doesn't storm. But now I've gotten a great support system. My girlfriend is actually still my friend. One of my other best friends actually did an interview with y'all as well. That's how I found out about you guys. And I was there with her, and it just kind of made me want to do it. But I have that support system now, and I have people who validate my feelings and my anxieties and everything I have to deal with PTSD. This abuse did cause me to develop borderline personality disorder, which apparently is common and things like that. And that's something I've been learning to cope with and deal with. But again, I've had support from these wonderful people around here, and it's just different when you actually have people supporting you and listening to you. So, I mean, if your family doesn't listen to you, find and try to pick good friends who do. You can pick your own family. Blood isn't your defining factor. And I've had to learn that because I always wanted to, bleed out all my blood so I could just get new blood that had nothing to do with them. It was just one of those childish concepts I had. I know now that that's really not something that can happen unless I just get a full infusion. But I was always mad at the blood. When I finally discovered that friends can be your family too, there was a sense of freedom with that. There was a sense of safety. And I'm so far away from them now that, I don't have to lock my door in 20 different ways or sleep with a bat or have a gun that because of my mental health I really shouldn't have because I might have a chance of putting it to myself. Like, these are all things I had to do to make sure he never came over if he found out where I lived. I was that scared. I wouldn't take my friends to family events because I didn't want them to get hurt. Having somebody who won't even let me go alone no matter how much I want to because they know that it's bad for me is nice and it helps. My best advice for dealing with assaults, abuses, anything like that in general, say something. Even if you don't file charges because you don't feel like you can, confide in a friend you trust. Like I said, you can pick your family. You can pick who's around you and you have control of who's in your life. And just try to have that one somebody that you can say something to and maybe they can help you because holding it in hurts you more than some of the bad stuff itself. And don't give up. Being in therapy has definitely helped me. It's helped me recognize what I've been struggling with instead of just the generic depression or anxiety from being abused. It's helped me pinpoint my diagnoses such as PTSD or CPTSD, my borderline personality disorder, and pinpointing those and having the education on those has helped because it helped me know what to cope with and how to deal with it. Because these aren't things that go away. They don't. And I don't want false hope that they would. They don't, you can't undo them. But therapy has definitely helped me learn to cope better. I'm no longer scared that if I need to go into a hospital for a little bit, I'm not scared to ask for help to do it. And it's not like what they put in the movies. Mental hospitals are actually pretty decently set up and nice, and they do cater to you as much as they possibly can with the restrictions they have. So it's scary, but if you need the help, do it. I were to fully succeed with my suicidal thoughts that I have on some occasions, in a way, then that means that my abusers would win. And I don't want that.